Hey there, I'm literally filming this on my phone, so just treat this like a fun little FaceTime where I'm catching you up on my chaotic weekend. Anyways, hi, I'm Ashley, and I did this fun little thing where I went on a trip in the middle of finals week, because who doesn't love a break? I just came off work, and funny enough, this trip is from a work trip, so we're gonna catch you guys up. If you don't know, I am a student marketeer with the University of Hawaii here with Red Bull, and this past weekend I flew out to California to go do some work trips. Typically, I work in Hawaii most of the year, but I've been grateful enough with this student job to be able to work to visit Tahoe, Alaska, Big Island, and now Oakland and San Francisco area. If you don't know, I'm from Pleasanton, which is a small little town in California, right by Oakland actually. Went to high school out there, Foothill Falcons, but everyone remembers Amador. Yeah, about a week before I was supposed to fly out, I found out that I'm going on this trip. And it worked out pretty well to the point where I could fly back and have a day before I had to go turn in this final. I was really lucky this year. I only had 2 actual final exams, and they happened 2 weeks before finals week actually happened. So the only thing I had to do during finals week was this 10-page essay, 10 pages of words, but then you also have to put in all your resources and stuff, and you have to print it and turn it in. And this is for my marketing capstone class, so it is important. It ended up being 160 pages because of the thing, and it took up a whole 1-inch binder. And it took me 3 weeks to find a place on Island where I can print out clear transparencies. Shout out to Office Max for helping me do that, and for giving me a huge discount. They gave me like 50% off because I think they just sensed my stress and my anxiety and that I was a student struggling at the end of the semester. I knew I was flying out for something called Red Bull Dancer Style. It's this freestyle one-on-one dance battle with 16 participants, and we do it in a bunch of different cities, Oakland being one of them for the US qualifiers. Last year, Tisaraki from Japan won it. This 19-year-old crazy good dancer. But let me catch you up. So yeah, I found out the week before I was supposed to fly out, my plane tickets and hotel and everything. I was the only person from the Hawaii team going, and I only knew about this event happening that weekend. By the time I land, I actually get the run of show or my itinerary for the whole weekend, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on that I get to do. So yeah, I landed in Oakland that night. Our flight was pretty quick. It was 4 hours. Typically this is a 5.5 hour flight, but I guess we just got cleared for a higher altitude or something. Who knows? I don't know how planes work entirely. Although my dream is to one day get my pilot's license. Am I making any effort towards that? No. But I'm saying it out loud, and maybe one day that'll happen. I got this job from sitting at a coffee shop and my boss just being you should apply. But yeah, I was the only one from my team to get sent out. I have a dance background. I went to Jazz and Taps in Arthur Murray back in the Bay. And I think I have one of my dance solos up on this channel, so watch me do the splits. I got you. So I landed in Oakland. They put me in a hotel that is so nice. And I got 2 beds because one of the other girls from Fresno was supposed to stay one of the nights with me, but her sister was in town, so she ended up not. So I just had 2 beds to myself. Got to the hotel, and the only reason I didn't film when I walked in is because I had to take nervous poops. I'm on the same floor as the fitness center, so I think I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not really gonna find out what this whole trip is outside of Red Bull Dancer Style till tomorrow at 2. So I'm just kind of taking this time to work out, take a nap, eat dinner, and do homework. I have a 10-page paper I need to write before less than a week from now. I got Ike's that night because I love Ike's. Just the Dutch Crunch bread is so good, and so I got the meatless Mike. I usually go for that or the Reading Rainbow, and Ike's also has Red Bull, so I bought a couple sugar-free Red Bulls too because I knew I would need them this weekend. And then at that point I got my schedule, and so I knew I had a 1 p.m. little study sampling mission at SFSU we say missions in Red Bull, but it's a work shift. One time I said missions to someone and they were like, "Are you Mormon?" And I was like, "No, this is just the Red Bull terminology." Did not get as much work done as I wanted to during breakfast, but I've also eaten the other half of my egg sandwich, and now I'm getting dressed. In an hour and a half, I have to be in San Francisco, the Red Bull warehouse, for a little sampling study mission, find some students who are doing the same thing that I'm doing right now, which is finishing up finals and papers and exams, and give them a little boost of energy. Even though it's an hour and a half, I have to leave here in like half an hour because it's in San Francisco, it's in city, and I'm in Oakland, which would be like half an hour drive, but then you have the toll, and like, I know better, okay? I know better because I'm from here. But it was really cool getting to sample another state. I've sampled in Alaska, so that's different from Hawaii, but the people there were similar to the people I've sampled in Hawaii. They were kind, they knew like what Red Bull was, and they kind of understood like what my role is as a student marketeer. Yeah, it was really cool being there because their school doesn't have a contract. Here at UH, we kind of have to be like undercover or like really sneaky when we sample students at Campus Center because we have a co-contract. And so obviously like the DPS or like the public safety people would tell us to leave if like we were super like out there just being like, "Red Bull gives you wings, like bulls up." At that school in San Francisco, they don't have a Coke or Pepsi contract, so we could walk around and it wouldn't matter, no one would stop us. So it was cool to experience that, like experience students in a different state, in a different culture, even though it is also a commuter school, but still different culture than UH. And they were going through finals because theirs were at the end of May, and so campus was super crowded. The girl I was working with, Tina, she was saying how she's never seen this many students at Campus Center before, and I was like, finals, man, this is the time when like traffic is actually a lot at school. The only time I have to worry about finding a parking spot at school is during exam season because the people who never show up for any class show up for this day. It's the one day that matters to their grade. But yeah, after that night, just like dinner again, whatever. See, each of these days I tried writing my paper and I only had about 1 page out of like 10 written before I went on this flight. So I was really trying to write whenever I could. I just didn't have the motivation. But you know what? You can't make diamonds without pressure. So, you know, the following day, there was something happening in San Francisco that I didn't even know about until I saw it on my itinerary, which is Sail GP. It is a crazy event where like you have the international best teams sailing these huge boats. Like the ones we saw were 24 meters, but they go all the way up to 29 meters tall. Like, it is crazy. Growing up, I went to Maker Fair a couple times in like San Jose area, and there they have the Oracle like boat, whatever, just like on display on land. And seeing that as a kid, like I remember thinking that's huge, and seeing it now when I'm 21 and not a kid anymore, I still think it's huge. Granted, I only grew like 2 inches after middle school, so but still it's big. But yeah, in the morning I had to seed some of the Berkeley like sailing team students, and we were all gonna go on a tour to see like the like warehouses and where they're prepping all the boats for the Sail GP the following day. That was a really cool experience. When I got on that bus though to go to the tour site with the Berkeley students, they were definitely a little bit confused. They were like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Hi, I'm a Red Bull student marketeer. I'm not even the marketeer for your school. That's someone else. She just can't be here today. But they sent me, and I'm from Hawaii." But everyone like in the Berkeley Sail team, they were super kind to me, made pretty good friends, followed a couple on Instagram, whatever. They were really sweet. I saw a couple of them the following day at the actual event, and they remembered my name. That was so sweet. It was so surprising to be walking around doing my job and people being like, "Ashley," and I'm like, I've only been here for like 12 hours. How do people like already say my name? Because out here that's normal. Anytime I step outside, I recognize someone. That's like the best part about being a student in Hawaii. You're always gonna recognize someone you walk out. I didn't really tell anyone outside of like my family back home that I was like gonna be like in the Oakland area this last weekend. I was like, who knows I'm here? And I was like, oh my god, it's people I met the previous day and they're so nice. But that tour was insane. Anyways, a couple hours later, I had to go to Dancer Style. It was starting to sprinkle, but I wasn't super stressed about it. I was only supposed to work for 2 hours at Dancer Style, and then I was gonna be able to like be off the clock and actually enjoy the event and watch it. After seeing like all the like video clips of it online, I was so excited to see it in person. I just worked the first couple hours and then I started to, you know, be off the clock, be unbranded. And then we get a text, all the SMs and I, that the event's being postponed to like an hour later, get back to branded, get back to sampling, and, you know, having good conversations. So I do that. I ended up working 5 hours, which is like a normal shift. Like I worked 5 hours earlier today. What I first did was just be like a greeter at the VIP area. So really just talking to them, asking like, oh, who do you know performing? Do you have a dance background? Like what's your go-to dance move? Like just making conversations and like showing them like a good spirit. But being genuine, I would do this anyways if I just bought a ticket to the event. I would just talk to people. And so there I met some, like a couple TikTokers, whatever. Oh my god, I forgot to say. There were also these like Santa Cruz like students who were at the GP tour that I saw later that night too. And then at the after party. Crazy. They were also ones who recognized me by my name, which is so sweet. I knew I was going to get no essay writing done on Friday. It was Cinco de Mayo, and I was working in the morning and the nights, and then there was the after party. So I kind of gave up on my essay that day. But yeah, so we kept like sampling. I was like playing music out of my phone while walking up to people just to like be like a dance vibe to them and like, you know, bring up the energy of everyone. It was a lot of Kesha. It was a lot of Kesha. 10 p.m. they finally like call off the event because of weather. It's too wet. Like the dancers, it's unsafe. If the dancers feel uncomfortable dancing in the rain, I get it. I was having a tough time just walking in the rain. We tried to move the event indoors, but security wouldn't let us because there's only one door to the event center that we had. And like that's definitely a hazard as far as people trying to enter and exit, especially because we had like 900 tickets sold, and that is definitely a hazard to only have one door to enter and exit from. Like I totally get why that is unsafe. But yeah, so the event got canceled officially by 10 p.m. and then at that point I like went home. I went back to the hotel room, got dressed. Around 11 I ended up at the after party. The line for this after party was down the block. It was a long line. I've never seen a line that long before to get into any place. But there was this cute little VIP line, and there was no one in it, so I walked up, and then they just led me through. I had like a Red Bull wristband on from earlier the day, and it just kept me working. Like I didn't pay any cover. They were charging like a $40 cover, and none of that. I recognized like this same TikToker, and I was like, oh my god, it's you. Anyways, and then all the like Santa Cruz people were in the VIP area too. Wild. Yeah, I spent most of my night in the VIP area. I probably spent like 3 minutes outside of it just because it was crowded and insane. People were dancing so hard in that area, and I was like, I can't keep up. There was a point where someone handed me and one of the other SMs a full bottle of Grey Goose, and I was like, oh, because I was told we were gonna buy our own drinks at this event, but then someone hands me this whole bottle, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just pouring out drinks for everyone around me right now because I'll drink only a little bit. That's it. I was very much a sober sister that night. I had like 2 drinks. But yeah, I was just dancing the whole time, making conversations with people, like celebrating, even though we didn't really have an event to celebrate, but still just like celebrating and having fun. I don't think I made any CLMs on that night. CLM is a career limiting move. I'm pretty good about it, especially because I don't drink that much. I'm pretty good about keeping my composure. I also dressed in a like longer skirt. It was still mini skirt, but it like went like maybe like 2 inches above my knee. And then the top I was wearing, like nothing was gonna fall out because I went like even like a couple inches below here, and I had like pretty good straps. So I knew I was like covered, like no embarrassing moments. Yeah, I left the club at like 2 a.m. Granted, I did not have to work until noon the next day, so that's what I did, and we worked the actual SailGP event. It was super great being around like a bunch of international people who are all just excited to watch this. I don't know anything about sailing. I've seen like a regatta like twice in my life in Kailua up here, and that's really it. But it was really cool because all the spectators there, most of them are into sailing or they've sailed before, and so it was really cool hearing hearing their perspective of it. They'd be like, oh, they like made a lot of mistakes, and they would explain it, and I'm like, that's really interesting. I ran into someone who's like a Kiwi, and they work for Red Bull back in New Zealand, and they were just there to have like a fun time. They weren't there for work, and it was super fun like asking them like questions that I would ask to anyone else that I sample. If I sample someone, and I won't say like what they'll tell me like their favorite flavor or addition, but because this person works in the company, I know I can say the words like skew and they'll understand what I mean. I feel like people don't know what skew means unless you've taken a business class before. But yeah, I was like, oh, like, what's your go-to skew? Or I was like, don't you think the visibility we have right now is great? I was saying like all these things that only someone who's been like trained through the e-learning would get. So he thought it was really funny. And we saw him a couple of times throughout the event. Something that the Berkeley students told me was that Australia has a really good team. So I was like really looking forward to watching their team perform in SailGP. And they killed it. I was yelling out, Aussie, 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 expecting someone else to say oi, oi, oi. No one did, so I would have to say that part too. But that's okay. That's okay. Something that I'm jealous of that we don't have in Hawaii, but they have in the SFO area for Red Bull, is they have electric minis, and they have like minis that have like a bigger trunk space too. So like here, we can maybe fit like 10 cases, so that's 240 cans with ice in our car. They can fit like 15. And then before I knew it, I was on my flight back home. I had like 5 hours to kill in the airport because my flight kept getting delayed. And so I spent a good chunk of my time writing my essay. I had to get that done because I needed to print it. This professor asked for it to be printed and turned in person. That's the reason I couldn't go to the Giants game. I had to fly back here. I had to print out 160 pages, and I had to get those clear transparencies. Okay, it was just a rough time. Rough time. I went to like 3 different coffee shops within that like Oakland terminal writing this essay. Best student job in the world, if that's all you've learned from this, because I got paid for every hour I was sitting on that plane. That's insane. And I did not have to pay for this flight. I'd have to pay for the hotel. Oftentimes when I travel with Red Bull, people ask me like, oh, do you have to like pay for your flight or something? I'm like, no, I get paid to be on that flight. Something that working at Red Bull has taught me is that I'm very much a person who's motivated by like passion and lifestyle and work. Because this job, Hawaii minimum wage is like really low. And as a result of that, there's not a lot of like really high paying jobs, especially for college students. But I still love working as a student marketeer at Red Bull. And it's really taught me how I am motivated by lifestyle and passion in a workplace. You got to figure out what you're motivated by, you know? Especially while you're in college. Are you motivated by money? Does the salary of your job really matter to you? Are you motivated by passion? Is what, you know, the company represents, their mission statement, their culture important to you? Or are you like a lifestyle person? Is it important to you that you have a lot of like flexibility in your scheduling so you can take like PTO and take a vacation and take a sabbatical? I'm really thankful that Red Bull like taught me that. Obviously they taught me a lot of other things about like marketing and field marketing, but I'm really thankful that it taught me for myself what I need to be motivated. Anyways, I did turn in that paper. I did not write it all on the plane or in the airport. I did have to write some when I got back, but I did it. And that's the end of my semester. I do not recommend taking a trip during the middle of finals week, but you can do it. If you want to, you can. It can be done. next video I have coming up is a Q&A, which will be it'll be a juicy one because I just got dumped after I came back from the plane. So yeah, send me questions you want answered. That's such a weird way to end this video, but I just want to say thank you guys. I ran into one of y'all the other day. Okay, I ran into two of y'all the other day outside of Island Brew by Ward here in town, and I don't know, that was one of the more meaningful interactions I've had with a subscriber / friend. I'm really happy that I have this channel because I think it's the one way I'm going to leave a legacy at my school. Like, yeah, I was president of a sorority and like a DAP student, like, you know, someone who put a lot of effort into being a student here, but having this kind of like internet archive of my experience and my knowledge that I want to share on to other students who apply here, I think it's definitely the legacy that I'm leaving, and it's really exciting to hear what you guys like think about my content. Thank you guys for watching. Love y'all.
Damn, Zeus, you too cold, bruh. What you doing?